Welcome back, folks. We have an out of place episode for y'all. I'm your host, Junkyard. I keep forgetting to say that during the startups. But we have I did the 12-foot Home Depot skeleton thing. Um, my wife got it last year, and I immediately wanted to repaint it because that's what I do. And I was like, I'm going to use this opportunity to make my first episode. And I had so many problems. I had audio problems and camera problems and learning how to edit and timeline problems. We took our vacation and it was like I just barely got the skeleton painted in time to get it put up for Halloween, let alone get the episode put out, and everything came running. So, let's see what happens. Even though it happened, but it's still happening.
This is going to be the first episode of my new budding YouTube channel. I am sitting here in my paint booth, casting station. I have ventilation and all that good jazz for this corner. The other side is woodworking. I also do metalworking, which is in the future building a shop at my house, which will also be documented on a YouTube channel. I have a few other videos up. A Big Ugly is a big costume I made a few years back. I have a Mark II in the works that will be shown on this channel, but today we are just going to start with Anthony here, our 12-foot Home Depot skeleton. I'm going to repaint everything, starting with the skull because it's the most fun, but as some of you have seen, it's not really a paint job. So it's probably good from the street looking at it, but I wanted to look nice close. I will be doing the rest of the body. Hopefully I'll get the whole thing done by Halloween and post it. Like I said, this is the first time of doing an actual channel part, so bear with me. It's going to be a lot of fixes as I go. So I'm going to now reset my cameras and we will start getting set up to get this going. So thank you. So I'm going to start out, because these eyes do some weird, neat stuff, which I haven't really figured out all of it yet, but take these bad boys off. This box is huge, by the way. Like, it's a 4x4 by 3 foot box. Like, when they first showed up, I was quite impressed. So I might fast forward through some of this, because who needs to watch masking? Down the road, I'm going to have hopefully mini things on my channel of stuff I'm doing. I'm just using a real basic airbrush from just online, nothing fancy. I do have an Anawa, or however you pronounce them, which is nice, but at the same time doesn't necessarily need to be that nice. And like, basically I'm just trying to go over some of this purple. You can only see just a little bit. So anywhere I'm thinking the shadow is, I'll start going over. I just know after poking at it enough and spraying enough stuff at it, it'll look cool. Like, that wasn't a bad base color. I don't mind the speckles. They'll actually add detail once everything's all said and done. Just keep painting, keep working. When I'm doing all this kind of painting, I a lot of times don't fully empty my palette. This I tattooed for years. So if you hear me all these paints. That's why. This is the exact type bottle that tattoo ink was done in. So that color I'm already way happier with. But I'm okay with that being that way. I'm going to let these all dry. Alright, so that dried up. And I realized I can't talk when I do the airbrush. So I'm going to try to pause that better. I watched my playback and it was like I was editing myself. I'm contemplating picking up one of those little automatic coffee stirrers, because that might be fairly nice for mixing up these little paints. I was thinking filling these holes, but at the same time probably beneficial to keep them in case I have to mess with the electronics in the dome. Now I saw a really good trick just using Sharpies for the teeth. But yeah, I'm kind of liking that. You go let it dry a little bit more. I'm already happier with this than I was before. I might add more whites back to it, but I always like my skulls to be, you know, dug up looking. Well, I'm going to see if this makes the screen resolution. I'm going to set my camera up with a better lens, see if any of these markers are any good. This one's good. And I'm just going to do a little bit with markers. I've been told before on projects when people have scoffed at me for trying a new thing like the Sharpie. I have 3 or 4 smaller skeletons, like 3 foot. I'm planning on getting a couple 5 foot ones. I just haven't. But I could, you know, try the technique of Sharpies on one of those, but no, I'm going to go ahead and try it on my expensive 12 footer, because that's how I do things. And some of this mold gets a little bit, like these front teeth, exceptional. These back teeth running at almost nothing. I'm planning on going back over these teeth with a little bit different of a... I always like the idea of things having wear and tear. It's probably why I was always a big fan of like the Star Wars Born Universe sort of deal. Well, I had to switch to a different machine. It's a little bit weird. This is more the one punch. Like there's a valve now that if I don't turn, it'll just spray air out, but at the same time it only lets out the paint when I pull back the handle, so I'll never get dry needle, which from watching YouTube, that's kind of an issue. So I'm going to pretty much paint quietly because this is going to just make noise the entire time. I was watching the show with the missus the other day, and I believe it was this old Tony. She was like, well, that's like an ASMR for tool guys. I've never thought of it differently since. I'm going to let this dry, come back with a brush and do those teeth, but I'm pretty close to happy. with how this needs to look. I could sit here and spray on it for a while, I'm sure, and be like, oh, I could not do it. But at the same time, I had to go back and look at what it was a couple hours ago. So white. But as I'm working on it, it just only changes from where I was at before I started painting the last time, not where I first started. So I'm going to do a little marker writing in some areas. To add a little bit more detail. Again, probably not needed for what it is, but it's kind of what I do, so. I'm going to tart something up, I really should tart it up. So then I'll go back over all this with my paint, and it'll kind of make them a little more subtle. These are the grayscale marker set that I really, really enjoy. Not any particular brand necessarily, but I always had an issue with messy drawings, messy materials. Like, I don't need them to be messy. I need them to be stable. So like ink, like most of my drawings I do over a light table with, I do like a quick sketch. Oh, well, there's a time lapse on my channel of how it all kind of goes down. But I draw the first bit with colored pencils just to get my gesture drawings down, and then I'll go through with various sorts of markers and pens to get my good detail. You're like, oh, you mess up. I was like, man, it's just like with a tattoo, you can't mess up. I've seen some tore up tattoos though, but it was there's a lot going on in a tattoo shop. Sometimes I miss it, other times not so much. But the one thing I really liked about it is it gave me a lot of freedom to do other things, because you're not busy in a shop. You can pretty much do what you want as long as you're available. A little bit too much thinner, I think. See, the more I do this, the more I realize what I do wrong, and then I can correct my actions. Everything's always a learning opportunity.
So the one on the right, well, it's right, is mostly done. The one on this side, obviously, is bone stock. Oh, the pun. But my plan is to finish a better paint job. I probably should have brought him in here today, but I'm having a lot of bones to paint. So I'll finish his paint job, and these are the little 3-foot ones. But I'm hopefully I can get some of these to, I'm going to try to sell them around Halloween, because I think they're slick.
When I said a couple weeks ago that this is a big thing, I'm not kidding. It's real big. Like, big. But awesome. This also has a much better paint job than the skull. Like, there's actually highlights and lowlights throughout this whole thing. The mold isn't three-dimensional, so the insides are hollow. But it's gonna be fun. Alright, so we're back at it. I got a few new paints since I was around. I knew I was going to run out quickly on a job of this size. Wasn't really expecting that. To be real honest, I was like, oh yeah, I got paint. But, so, as you can see, we have the torso. A giant, magnificent torso. This guy, some lower spots are going to be more accented than anything just because they're not actually sculpted. So yeah, this has been a really fun learning process. But this guy has a big old Haas valve on, or reservoir. So I'm like, I saw that and I was like, yeah, that'll do. Yeah, I'm really enjoying that. I'm using Premiere or whatever it's called, but I am having a lot more fun than I expected. To a fault though, I was actually supposed to be getting back to work on this guy around noon, and it is much later than noon now. So as you can see, this guy is going to be done stages. I'm going to try to work the majority of one side at a time. So not necessarily flipping it consistently. But yeah, I'm going to let this dry and be back. So we're back. I got this far last time. We're back. Still not even touched. But I was real happy with the progress. I also now have another camera. So I have my other camera. It's been good. She's running real good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back in here. I want to get a whole bunch done today. I want to get mainly him front and back done, and probably bring up his start bringing down his legs, and his hips are also pretty equally big. I'm kind of thinking I'll do those together because the leg bone's not going to take long. That's real simple, so I'm not terribly worried about doing those. I'm kind of planning on working in some of the smaller skeletons at the same time. So whether or not I show every single little sculpture or skeleton, I probably won't. I'll probably have one on the table while I'm doing the other ones, just to get them knocked out. Like I was saying before, these shoulder blades on the inside don't have any molding. It's just a relief, so I'm just going to try to make you see, you'll see it in this view, I'm guessing. I'm trying to add the shadows of the ribs that are supposed to be there. So yeah, the torso is definitely going to be the second hardest part to paint on this guy. The skull is definitely the worst, or most fun. That screw hole is for loop screw T. Might need that when I'm actually assembling this for real. Alright, welcome back. Just got back from Yellowstone. Super fun. But now it's time to really get these last few parts. So I have hands and the hips. I'll start, a lot of this is going to be a little bit quicker than normal, probably at high speed. The rest of the build might be all in high speed setup. And hopefully this new camera view will kind of help show view, and I'm fairly sure I broke my other airbrush. I was trying to tighten the nozzles. I had it taken off, so I thought I may have not put it back on tight enough. A little tiny wrench, then I tightened it, and it got a little tighter, and then it got loose. The more I go through, the more I realize a lot of the benefits to the more expensive machines are in the ability for them to be repaired. That one I have that I can't pronounce properly, its whole nozzle assembly is way more robust, way easier to manipulate, just overall better little system. So that was quicker than I expected it to go. So, like magic, now I have all the parts. I had the paint mix already, so I'm going to go through and just use up this paint on them, and hopefully that'll be enough of this dark color. Next color I'll just cycle through. Third time's the charm, shall we? Alright, so I was over here a minute ago, and we're doing all this. I'm not sure how much of that last 15 minutes or so I'm actually going to be able to use, but hopefully I can actually keep some paint coming out of here for more than a rib from this point on. But as of right now, we're sitting like this. Last night the footage was a little bit lacking in my showing, but so that's where he's at now. And we can see mainly this view how the highlights are starting to make him look more copacetic. I'm going to come back through and add these darker tones in a few spots. They got a different paint since then, but this is where we're at now. Just set his face. Now he's pregnant. Baby's sleeping. So I got my loud machine to actually fire up right. So I started working. I'm like, you know what? This is a cool enough view. I'll pull it back up. It's the first time I've seen it kind of connected, but I'm just going to say use the loud guy. You already see I'm bringing the color tones between both pieces. This neck, I'm going to zoom up. I'm hopefully like right about in here. You can see the texture. So much texture on these vertebrae versus these vertebrae. And it's kind of frustrating, but anyway. Alright, that's going to do it for today. If you do see me again and I happen to be wearing this same exact outfit, we'll just pretend it's another day. For right now, my finger hurts holding down the trigger. But, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I see how I knotted up the head, but it now flows with the skull a lot better than I thought it did before. So yeah. Till next time, down in the basement. Thank you, folks. But this is where we're gonna set up Anthony. Actually, a year late. I didn't get a setup video last year, so we're gonna try doing it again this year. It's one of my metal sculptures. It's my front yard. So here's all the parts laying outside, ready to be put together. Well, assembly took some extra help and longer than I thought, so we did not get footage of it. But it also does not fit into my frame, so this is him outside. So, yeah, he's a big guy. And I'll be able to return my spotlight so he gets lit up at night. We're going to have him for Christmas, and he's going to be able to hang some decorations onto my sculpture. And just scale. And I'm like 6 foot.
Alright, folks, that's it. That is the entire paint job of Anthony. I did not realize how much of my footage was actually got messed up, and I lost audio from the entire first episode after it was all done, but it's done. It's out there. I'm happy. Anthony's in my front yard. You were all on this journey with me. It's kind of a cleaning the palette in the middle of the Big Ugly suit, which will be very soon coming back into play. But until then, thank you guys for sticking out. This got long. We're over a half hour now. But if you like what's going on, send me a like, send me a comment. The subscriptions, all that, it does good for the algorithm, but this is more for my person. But again, thank you very much for coming by and listening to me rant and talk to myself and try to figure out lots of stuff. Lots of stuff. But thank you.